Is that correct, Bonnie? Are we still all on board with that? We have visual tefillah here that's been created to help guide you through the service, so no need to have a prayer book in hand. We have transliteration and translation, and we're just so excited to be here together tonight. Just take a moment to take a slow, deep breath in and let out the week. Another slow, deep breath in. It's been amazing as we came back from back from camp just about a week ago. Our house has been filled with lots of friends and kids from the neighborhood coming in and out. And as we go through our blessing to welcome in our Shabbat angels, just take a moment to look upon the people who are gathered here tonight. The angels in our community, the people that bring a little more light, the people that help elevate kindness and goodness when things are difficult. These are the angels who are part of our community. In a moment, I am very excited to welcome a very dear friend of mine. Actually, I'll do that right now. Rabbi Amy Fader, who is one of my besties from seminary, and we have been there for all of these incredible simchas and also some really challenging times in each other's lives. Pretty amazing that we have Gabriel here tonight, because Amy, while we were still in seminary, was the one to help officiate Gabriel's bris, and a couple years later helped officiate his bar mitzvah. And tonight here to celebrate his birthday and Shabbat. An incredible honor to have you and your community join us this Shabbat. I'm just grateful for years of friendship and collegiality. So let's welcome in our angels. Ooh. With a different sound. Wow. God does have a sense of humor.
Shalom Aleichem Malachai Asharet Malachai Elyon Mimelech Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh HaKadosh Baruch Hu Bocham Lishalom Malachai HaShalom Malachai Elyon Mimelech Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Baruchuni Lishalom Malachai HaShalom Malachai Elyon Mimelech Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh HaKadosh Baruch Hu Tzidchem Lishalom Malachai HaShalom Malachai Elyon Mimelech Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shalom Aleichem Malachai Asharet Malachai Elyon Mimelech Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh HaKadosh Baruch Hu
Again, so honored to welcome again Rabbi Amy Fader, all the way from St. Louis. Easiest commute you ever had, I bet, Amy.
Sure. Um, so it's such an honor and a pleasure to be here tonight. And what I do have to say, especially to my St. Louis community, is that I should probably apologize because you were actually not originally invited tonight. Tonight, my hope, this, as many of you know, I've been on sabbatical this month, and I thought, what is the way that I could end this sabbatical, this time of rest and joy, in a way that was going to give me the strength and the spirituality that I needed to go into the Chagim and the rest of the year. And I thought a Shabbat with Natalie. But I realized that, that maybe it wasn't quite fair to just keep this community and keep Cantor Natalie all to myself. And that really to be able to have the honor to combine our congregations in this one experience and to be able to share our wisdom and our music and our teachings together all the way across the country, especially in a time when so many of us feel so divided and so far apart from each other, that maybe this was a gift that we all could share. So I'm so glad to be able to be here with you tonight, to be able to bring in this Shabbat, and hopefully, just as I know that already these last few moments have given me the kind of peace that I think I'm going to need, and courage to move into whatever comes next, that I hope that you find the same is brought to you as well.
Thank you, Amy. In just a moment, we are going to light our Shabbat candles together. So let's just take a little time, if you don't have your candles already, to go grab them so that we can fill up our screen with all of this Shabbat light. And I want to invite my son Gabriel to share this reading before candle lighting.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all hope you hold us. I was their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled like, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
Let's light our candles together.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק נר של שבת.
Amen.
Before the service began, we were talking about the idea that one of the challenges of Zoom is that it's so hard to feel like you can sing together. Because we know, if you've been on Zoom calls before where you try to sing or even read together, that it's this cacophony. It feels like mud. But the truth is that you can always still sing. And the idea of being able to sit in your own room and somehow know that even if you're just listening to the music coming from Cantor Natalie on the screen, that you can still add your voices to her. And it's as if the voices from your homes in St. Louis and from your homes, Dakota, from each of you all over the community and all the way in California, that all of our voices somehow are coming together and they're making this one beautiful sound. So we sing. Even if we can't hear each other's voices, we know that each of us is offering some sort of a very new kind of song to God. So we sing those words, Shir Chadash, sing a new song to God.
שירו לאדוני כל הארץ שירו לאדוני שיר חדש שירו לאדוני כל הארץ שירו לאדוני שיר חדש. Sing unto God all the earth a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God and we'll all sing along. All the earth a new song unto God. Shir Adonai kol haaretz. Shir Adonai shir chadash. I will sing unto God a new song.
I almost feel like I have to catch my breath. It feels so beautiful to hear your voice and to hear the two of you together. But that's when prayer is at its best, isn't it? These moments where something just catches you and you feel it in your throat and you feel that there is something more than a song being sung, that it's as if there is some sort of spirit in your presence that makes you feel like this is a holy and sacred moment. And just half an hour ago, I was just a mom and I was making my dinner and I was with the kids, but now suddenly I'm in this sacred space. But our ancestors knew those moments too. They knew that there were times that when we would come together where suddenly you would have this moment of spirituality and beauty that was so overwhelming that you would need a whole new metaphor and a whole new kind of poetry and way of talking about it. And that's what Lecha Dodi is. Lecha Dodi is this poem that was written by Kabbalists in Sfat in the medieval period, and they wrote it because they said Shabbat should always be that magical. It should always be so special that it requires a new kind of feeling and a new kind of holy moment. So we sing Lecha Dodi, imagining that this moment right now is so sacred that it needs a kind of imagery and metaphor that we could never imagine before. We imagine Shabbat as a bride walking into our midst. We welcome that Shabbat bride in with Lecha Dodi.
Lecha Dodi, לקראת כלה, פני שבת, פני שבת נקרא, Lecha Dodi, לקראת כלה, פני שבת, פני שבת נקרא. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, כי השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, ושמו תפארת David. Ya la 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 likatala. Ya la 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 penei Shabbat. Penei Shabbat ekabe. Ya la 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 David. Ya la 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 likatala. Ya la 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 penei Shabbat. Penei Shabbat ekabe la.
So this moment requires a bit of explanation, especially from my congregation from St. Louis, because this is actually not something that we traditionally do, but it's a minhag that's done in many congregations. It's at this point in the service that traditionally we welcome in the mourners. And the idea is because it's assumed that if you are in mourning, that up until this moment, you have been in the depths of your mourning. You have been perhaps at Shiva, and it is just this moment now when Shabbat is really going to begin, that you're going to be with a community, because at least for Shabbat, you are supposed to say that your mourning will take a pause. But the truth is, and I know that there are many of us tonight who are in mourning, either for a recent loss or a loss that was long ago, that we know that really the mourning doesn't stop. Instead, what this moment allows us to do is it allows us to turn to each other and to turn to those who are in mourning and to say, Hamakom yinechem etchem, may the source of comfort be there to comfort you, and so too as your community, may we be able to offer you words of comfort. Yitkada v'yitkada shmei Rabbah, Be'amad v'rach yoteh v'yamlich machoteh, B'chayecho u'b'yomecho, u'b'chayedecho Beit Yisrael, Ba'gala, u'izman karim, v'yimaru, Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach, le'olam olam me'amaya, Yitbarach. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'av v'yitramam v'naseh v'yitada v'yitale v'yitalav shemei kodasha b'rechu le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechamata damiran b'yama v'yimaru Amen.
We rise in body or spirit for Baruch Hu.
Mevorach setting of the sun. You unfold the heavens with the brilliant moon and stars, and wrap our souls with peace. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidbaro mariv anavim, b'chokhma poteach she'arim. Baruch atah Adonai Hamariv Aravim. Ahavat olam beit Yisrael, Amecha ahavta, Amcha ahavta. Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadeta, otanu limadeta. Al ken Adonai Eloheinu b'shokbeinu, ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגע יומם ולילה, נגע יומם ולילה. בעבדך תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל, אוהב עמו ישראל.
Every morning when we wake, every night before we go to sleep, even in those last moments of our lives, there is one prayer that we are supposed to say. It's reminding ourselves of the oneness of God, that God is always with us. We sing those words, Shema, each time we come together.
If it is your custom to rise, please feel free to do that at this time.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. הוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וכשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
At the ends of the prayer that Gabe just chanted so beautifully, he added on this extra word. He said emetz, which means truth. And the question is, why do we say emetz right before we do Mi Chamocha? Because Mi Chamocha is all about the fact that miracles happen. And we know that there's so many times in our lives where we wonder, really, could a miracle happen in this moment if the one thing I need is for something to come from the sky, for something to change that's so unexpected and wonderful? Could such a thing happen? And we start it always by saying, emet, it's true. Sometimes, every once in a while, miracles really do happen. So every time we come together in a prayer, we sing the Mi Chamocha, reminding ourselves that it is true, that sometimes miracles happen, and maybe just this time we'll be lucky enough to make sure that they happen to us.
Mi Chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, מלכותך ראו בניך בקיים לפני משה, זה ענו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני
Sometimes we're lucky and those miracles happen. But even when those miracles happen, we know too that they can be scary. Sometimes getting what you've always wanted is maybe not what you expected. And so whatever your miracle was, whatever your great moment of freedom was, we then ask God to spread ufros aleinu, a sukkah of peace over all of us. Okay. Ufros aleinu, sukkah, sukkah, shlomeh. Achar. Yadai, yadai,
Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim.
We have a beautiful tradition at camp where for Hashkivenu, our staff hold up talitot over all of the campers to bless them and to create that Sukkot Shalom. As we're here gathered from all over the country with your wonderful congregation, Amy, and my amazing community, we get to be that Sukkot Shalom for one another. And if we can just imagine us spreading this peace through our computer screens to one another, really connecting heart to heart. It's been such a challenge for many of us engaging with community through a computer. But the reality is, as Amy was talking about, we get to create these sacred spaces wherever we are with intentionality, by coming together, by adding in our voices. And as we ask God to shelter us with peace each evening, our part of the breed, our part of the covenant is to guard Shabbat. And really this is a gift to give us pause amidst the chaos of a crazy week, to be able to create that intention in time and space that we can slow down and breathe in this new soul. Please join us in Vishamru.
Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat la'asod et HaShabbat לדורותם ברית עולם. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat la'asod et HaShabbat לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביום השביעי שבת ונפש, שבת ונפש, שבת ונפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
before we go into our Amidah tonight, as I'm looking at Amy here, this song that we sing each Shabbat and for so many of our services was born on Amy's balcony in Jerusalem. It is amazing to think back to where it all began. And as I was sharing with some of you prior to us streaming services tonight, Amy and I were in the original Band of Milk and Honey, something that we started in our first year in Jerusalem. And music has the power to really open us up and allow us to go deeper. And when we can really be vulnerable in these moments, we're able to open up these different parts of ourselves that so often we don't make time for. Amy has created a prompt for us to meditate on tonight, one that is challenging, and this is meant to be challenging. We are in a world that is begging us to pay attention and be intentional about how we want to be in the world, what kind of world it is that we want to create. So I'm going to read the prompt first. Then we're going to come back to Adonai Sfatai. And I want to challenge you to really focus on these words. Our country is so divided between those who are vaccinated and those who aren't, between those who are concerned about their personal freedoms and those who are sacrificing for what they see as a common good. Whichever side of the line you fall on, if you could have an open, honest conversation with someone on the other side, what would you say to them? So as we chant tonight the words of Adonai Sfatai, these words that we struggle with for this Amidah prompt tonight, we ask God to compassionately open up our minds, our hearts, and our lips, that we can find the right words to have gentle, loving, civil discourse, to challenge one another, and come back to one another. If it is your custom, well, we all rise for the Amidah. You can stay seated or you can rise, whatever you're comfortable with this evening.
Adonai Sfatai Tiftach, Adonai Sfatai Tiftach, Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha, Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Adonai Sfatai Tiftach, Adonai Sfatai Tiftach, Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha, Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha.
יהיו לרצון אמרי פי והגיון ליבי לפניך אדוני צורי וגואלי. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable unto you, O God. יהיו לרצון אמרי פי והגיון ליבי לפניך אדוני צורי וגואלי.
So, my friends, I have the opportunity to share a little Torah with you tonight. This week's Torah portion is called Akev, and you probably know this, but when it comes to the name of a Torah portion, it's usually not like the title of a book or even a chapter of the book where it really tells you something about what's about to happen. More often than not, the way that a parsha gets its name is that it just so happens to be the first or second word in the parsha. But every once in a while, there comes not only a parsha, but a particular moment in time when somehow the title seems to mean so much. And for this week, Ekev seems to do just that. Ekev is actually a sort of weird word. It means to follow or to obey. But in the context, you sort of have to imagine that it's in the midst of a sentence, and the way the Hebrew would read is it would say, "And if you obey these laws, ... And my guess is that even if you don't know this parsha at all, you can probably guess what happens after the ... right? If you obey these laws, good things will happen to you and bad things will not. And we know this not just because it's the teachings of Jewish tradition and in the Torah, but these are the kind of teachings that we teach each other in real life. We tell our children that, if you obey and eat your vegetables, then you will grow big and strong and you will also get dessert. And we say that if you do well in your job and you follow all the rules there, that maybe you will get a raise and you will rise up in the ranks. That we know that these are usually the way things work. If you obey these laws, ... then good stuff will happen to you. And of course, that's not always the case, right? We all know that there are times when very bad things happen to very good people who followed all the rules. We know that there are times when very good things happen to people who break all of the rules. But for the most part, even though there are those anomalies, we still know that most of the time our social contract says, if you obey these laws, ... good things are going to happen to you. Or at least it's felt that way for a long time, right? Except that somehow over this past year and a half, and I would say now especially maybe in these last few weeks, people are starting to wonder if maybe that isn't true anymore. Now, I know that we have a lot of people from different communities tonight. So for our California folks, I will just share with you what has happened in St. Louis, because as you know, Missouri is making the news right now for being one of the top COVID hotspots in the entire country. And so what happened just this last week was that our county executive, Dr. Sam Page, he came out and he said, you know what, it looks like we're going to have to go back and we will have a mask mandate again. And within just a few days, the county council came together and they voted to overturn the mask mandate. Now, you can think whatever you want to think about that. We can, and we have talked many, many hours about it. But I want to share with you something, which is that I asked Natalie tonight, I said, tell me a little bit about your community. Are you red? Are you blue? What are your thoughts about vaccinations and masks? And she said that you all are probably pretty similar to us, that we are a beautiful mix of everything and all different perspectives. But I will say that in Missouri, especially because of where the biggest outbreaks have been of the Delta variant, it's in the south of Missouri. And Missouri as opposed to Missouri, we say. And so a lot of times we are looking at our neighbors down south and thinking, oh, this is happening because these people, they don't understand science, right? We look at them and we say that these people, they're just not smart enough, right? We're not very nice about this. And we assume that the reason that people are acting in the way they are is because somehow they are a little bit less than us. But when they had this county council meeting, they allowed people from the community to speak. And I was watching some of the footage, and there was one of these moments that really struck me. There was a woman who gets up to the microphone, and she did not appear to be someone who was from the Ozarks. She was just like all of us. And she gets up to the microphone and she says, I lost my grandfather to COVID. I know this is real. But then she takes her vaccination card and she lifts it up and she tears it in half. Because she said, and I am paraphrasing her, but she essentially says, you said that if you obey these laws, ... You told us that if you obey these laws, we won't have to wear masks anymore. No one will be getting COVID again. You said that if we do these lockdowns and if we wear these masks, good things are going to happen, and they're not. And I realized that in so many ways, she was right. And she was not some Okie. She was not someone who in any way I could look at and say, oh, she is other. This is a woman who, like so many of us, was tired and felt that she had been following all the rules, and she believed in science, and she knew that COVID was real, and she still said, what has happened to our social contract? You said that if we obey these laws, then ... we would be okay. But I realized as I was listening to her that maybe part of the problem was in this part of Ekev that we talked about in the beginning, that I said that the word means obey, but really we assume it says, if you obey these laws. We sort of read that into it. But when I say, if you obey these laws, it sounds as if I'm saying, Marcy, if you obey these laws, Carol, if you obey these laws, then you will be okay. But I realized that it wasn't you. It wasn't saying im ata or im at, if you individually, Bill, if you follow these laws, you will be okay. Then no, really, it was about if y'all obey these laws, then maybe things will be okay. And it's not just with COVID, it's in everything we do that we have to remember that really it's not just about you or you, it's about you all. It reminded me of that story from Midrash Rabbah that I'm sure you've heard before. It's so beautiful. It's about people who are in a boat, and there's a man, and he's in the boat, and he starts drilling under his seat, right? And the passengers, they say to him, what are you doing? And he's like, well, it's my seat. I can do whatever I want to. And they're like, but if you drill under your seat, we all drown. But see, the thing is the story ends there. In Midrash Rabbah, that's where it ends. But what if the story continued on and they thought about that prompt that I gave you for the Amidah? What if someone had said to that man who was drilling a hole under his seat, what's making you drill a hole under your seat? You must be so tired. You must be so afraid to do something this rash. Tell me your story. What if we said to this man, I see that you have a child sitting next to you just like I do. Let's talk about our children who maybe can't swim very well and see how we can help them. That because so many of us have been spending all this time looking at the person sitting next to us, whether it's in the boat or whether it's on that great big map of Missouri or our country, and thinking, who is this fool? Who is this jerk who is behaving in the wrong way? What if we said that no, really, this has to be about y'all? And if we can really all be in this together, if we can be able to look to those people who are acting in different ways than us, ways that maybe we have looked at them and we pointed our fingers and said that you are being foolish or you are being selfish, that maybe we just forgot that they are people just like us with the same sort of fears and the same sort of tiredness. And if we can find a way back to saying, not just you, but y'all, then maybe we will find that Ekev is true for us too. That if all of us are able to obey these laws and to look at each other as human beings who are in this, maybe we'll be able to find that good things happen to us too. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom. Really powerful words, Amy. Thank you so much for that Torah. It has been a time of communal trauma, and being back at Camp Newman this summer, there are a lot of us who are working through this time of healing. And as we come back to one another, we recognize that while we may have been safe from physical ailments, that many of us are struggling emotionally and spiritually during this time. And we need to reach out. We need to see one another. We need to be that source of healing for one another. We need to be that source of compassion and patience with one another. I want to invite you at this time to add names in the chat for anyone who might be in need of healing this Shabbat. And as we add in the names of our loved ones and community members, tonight we pray for y'all, for all of us, because we are in this together. And when one of us is hurting, we are all hurting, and we can again be that source of light and healing for one another.
Mi shebeirach avotenu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength who blessed the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
First, before we jump into other announcements, my deep gratitude to my friend and colleague, Rabbi Amy Fader, for joining us tonight, for sharing her beautiful Torah with us, for challenging us and opening us and giving us the gift of Shabbat. And a thank you to the amazing Bonnie Pomish, who is running point on services tonight. We are an incredible team, and we all lean and count on one another, and just grateful for all of those behind the scenes that help make it possible for us to gather in sacred spaces, virtually and in person. Oh my goodness. Next week, I am so excited. Rabbi Kavod will be back with our community, and we are going big with Shabbat. We are back in our sanctuary. The band of Milk and Honey will be singing and playing and bringing music, and I hope to see you all there. So next week happens to be the first Friday in August. We are moving to a new service schedule. Our first service of the month will remain at 6 o'clock, and all of our other services are moving to 7 p.m. We even have our Soul Spark Shabbat coming up in just a few weeks as well, so I hope you'll be able to join us for that. And if you haven't yet, please complete your 21-22 membership renewal form. We want you back with us. We are so excited to be able to gather in our spiritual home again, to see one another. Our board is making big decisions based on this data, and we really need your data, and we need you to respond. So looking forward to celebrating Shabbat together in person. And again, thank you all for being here tonight. We are going to be doing a non-traditional Aleinu tonight with Matisyahu's One Day. Really, this is about creating the world that we wish for ourselves and for our family and for the people sitting next to us. This is all about intentionality. So please join with us.
One day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day. Sometimes I lay under the moon. I thank God I'm breathing. Then I pray, don't take me soon, 'cause I'm here for a reason. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I'll never let it get me down. So when negativity surrounds, I know someday it'll all turn around, because all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more, there'll be no more wars, and our children will play. One day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day. V'nema Adonai lemelech kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo u'shemo
Whatever you washed onto my shore, it taught me a lot about myself. Your sea glass touch and driftwood words changed the way I see the world. For that, I can never repay you.
Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. And we are remembering people from both of our communities. Tonight, we remember in this period of Shloshim, Bernice Berman, the mother of our member Judy Berman. In Yartzites, we are commemorating this Shabbat Miriam Benel, Phyllis Boxer, Chaim David Cherry, Sarah Cohen, Marvin Drotman, Stephen Feldman, Benjamin Fisher, Max Joseph Friedman, David Gassner, Jack Gluskin, Betty Lehman Guggenheimer, Betty Josephson, Al Cahan, Olga Karyanin, Max Kerr, Arthur Kruger, Louis Kunin, Paul Kushner, Vyacheslav Lisak. And my apologies if I'm pronouncing any of your loved ones' names incorrectly. Max Newman, Jack Rice, Ruth Roman, Marty Rothman, Dorothy Schulman, Jacob Schwartz, Marshall Schwid, Joan Seligson, Morris Stevens, William Yates. And please feel free to add any names to the chat of loved ones you are remembering tonight.
And from our St. Louis community, for the period of Shloshim of recent deaths, we're remembering Susan Marilyn Mogerman and Evie. We're remembering Max Bernstein and thinking of him every moment. And for the Yartzites, we're remembering Emma Ach, Louis Onfanger, Ann Bender, Harvey Bender, Valley Bender, Mamie Benson, William B. Eisman Jr., Vida Fabric, Milton E. Freund, Henry Friedman, Carolyn K. Fuchs, William J. Fuchs, Alan Garber, Morris Goldberg, Belle Miriam Green, Rose Greenberg, Isaac Haas, Ruth Rubenstein Hacker, Robert Henley Jr., Jack Coulterman, Meyer Lewis Katz, May Weil Koenigsberg, Isidore Kronik, Henry Landauer, Ben Landauer, Sam Levin, Ruth Marglis, Sadie Mathis, Abe Miller, Mildred Proud Penner, Bernice Poliakoff, Minnie Rabin, Nettie Ritchie, Roselle Michelle Roca, David J. Ross, Joseph F. Ruich, Lillian Sarner, Edwin Sheila, Helene Shukat, Dorothy B. Shukar, William I. Seltzer, Alvin A. Smith, Gerald M. Steiner, Lorraine Holtzman Tucker, Pearl Wagner, Jenny Miller-Witelski, Hattie Wadelis, Diane Weiss, Dr. Samson Wennerman, Esther F. Werner, Dolly R. Yowitz, Frank Yusman, and Hannah Zeev. So with these names and with the names that we keep in our hearts, we join together in the words of the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah, ba'alma divrach yiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh, b'chayachon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'zman kariv v'imru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevorach la'olam almaya. Yitzbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal Shmei dekudasha b'richu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, ta'amiran ba'alma, v'imru, Amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min Shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru, Amen.
Oseh shalom b'mramav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומה הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן. Hey! Invite Sarah Feynman to lead us in Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu b'shabbat kodesho be'ahava u'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron le'maaseh bereshit ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh zecher litziat mitzrayim kivanu bacharta ve'otanu kidashta min kol hamim ve'shabbat kodecha ve'ahava u'ratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat.
L'chaim. And I'm excited to invite Patty Holiday to lead us in Motzi. There you are.
Hello, hello. Hi, y'all. I appreciate. My saying is, surprise, nothing happened. Grab your bread, reach out. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lehem min haaretz. B'tei avon.
Avon. Shabbat Shalom. I
Shabbat
want to invite
shalom.
everyone to stay on just for a moment that we can glance upon each other and